I am the creator of CanavaP, so you probably heard a lot of it during the day. I'm also the founder of AlphaCat, and I just come out with a new brand called Golden Buds, which is a vape pen. So I will be talking today about CBD regulation, but I will try to be short because there's been already a lot of talk about it. And I'm going to talk also about quality control. So first of all, thank you for the Cannabis Business Europe to have invited me. And by the way, today is my birthday as well, so thank you. So I will start the introduction. I will just touch base a little bit about the plant because we talk about all the regulation, all the different market opening, but I think it's also nice to a little bit have a brief review on the botanical aspect, because to understand the quality and the control of it, we need to know what we are talking about. I will also briefly go back to the production process in terms of the production flow, so we can see also in which stage of the manufacturing we need also to be aware of each quality process. All the different cannabinoid testing possibility, and the last for the best will be what's the regular statute about CBD in France before and after CanavaP, because there is a precedent now. So to talk a bit about the botanic, so we have actually two botanists that really made an impact about the cannabis referencing in botanically speaking. So we have Carl Linnaeus from Sweden, which is the actual reference right now. As you all see always in Latin name, we say Cannabis sativa L, and so the L stands for Linnaeus as the reference to his botany. And on the other, so what's important is that he considers as only one species. So it's just Cannabis sativa, and after that we just have like different biotype, which are Indica, Ruderalis, and so on. And after it is even the sub-variety, which we call like the OG Kush or the Fedora, depending if you are in the hemp or if you are in the medicinal or recreational aspect. And then you have another interesting botanist, which is Jean-Baptiste Pierre-Antoine de Monet de Lamarck, who, after Linnaeus, came up with the actually distinguish of sativa and indica due to the phenotyping as it grows. So that's our next slide, where we can see different type of cannabis, industrial and medical, in a way, as we are talking about CBD, and it is coming directly from the technical hemp, or cannabis technical, where we see like a very high density of growth, where we have more than 200 plants per meter square, where the original hemp is to produce the fiber and the seeds. And we have cannabis variety which are below 0.2, and the CBD level usually naturally doesn't exceed the 6%. And after, of course, there is some variation in terms of climate which can increase it or decrease it, but that's the general aspect. What's really interesting is that according to different countries in Europe, and also like Switzerland, which is not Europe but is still territory close to the member states, we can see that, for example, in EU we have 0.3 as the limit. In Italy we have 0.5. Switzerland, which is a bit of exception and is not a European country, they have allowed the 1%. And recently, Czech Republic has also came up with a law which will allow the 1% THC limitation, which I believe will be also quite of interesting to see, because they are European member states, and as we follow now with the CanavaP story in terms of the free circulation of goods, that will imply that maybe some product which will be close to the 1% could be sell in our European market, but that's something that will be funny to see what will happen there. And on the other side, we have the other plants which could be more referenced like as an indica type of growth, and this is like a more dispersed, low density plantation. As you see, it's very a big space between each plant, which allow the auxiliary buds to grow to maximize the production of cannabinoids. And of course, in this situation, we are not really interested in the fiber, but we are really focusing on the flower and the production of the active compound of the plant. So we can see it's really two distinguished type of cultivation and two type of growing technique and or after transformation. So just to go back a little bit on the plant itself, so we see the plant, but inside the plant, on the flower, we have what we call the trichome. The trichome is this little mushroom-shaped organelle from the plant, and this is what actually will produce all the active ingredients in the cannabis. And that's what actually we are all looking for, and that's what we are going to try to maintain in terms of quality and stability all along the process. And as you see, there is a start that comes from the terpenes and phenol, will transform into CBG, and from the CBG, which is the precursor of cannabinoids, we will go into CBD, CBC, or THC. And this is very affected by the UVB, meaning that in the plant itself, at the beginning of the growth stage, there is no cannabinoids, and the cannabinoids will be triggered by the UV light. And that's why also in terms of cultivation, there is such a difference when we are talking about indoor, outdoor, greenhouse, because all will be variant according to the amount of light that the plants will get. And of course, the fertilizer and all the additive input that we will put in the growth. So from there, that will produce the cannabinoids. We can see that in the plant itself, when the plant is raw, there is no actually cannabinoids active in its sense. We are talking about the cannabinoid acids. And those cannabinoid acids are really interesting. They have some property, but they are not the property which we are looking for in terms of what we know, for example, for CBD. So if you have CBD acids, you will not have the same effect as the CBD. So it's very important for a product to make sure that in the process, your raw material will be decarboxylated. And the decarboxylation occurs by the removal of carbon chain, so you can get the active form of the cannabinoids. And what's really important is that those cannabinoids are not that stable in time. They are subject to degradation, and that can also then trigger the quality of your product. As you can see, for example, CBN will occur from the degradation of THC, and CBC as well, where you will get some CBR. So it's very important to monitor those compounds. So just a little bit of chemistry. I will not go into too much into detail, but it's just a matter to show you that CBD is part of the registering number of the CAS, which is part of the nomenclature that's referencing all the chemical compounds. So it's actually in the literature, it's recognized, it can be also, this is the code, for example, that you will use when you are dealing with customs in terms of a declaration of what the goods is about. And as you can see, there is no psychotropic effect and the very high tolerance. This was just a fun fact where you can see someone was taking about 70 milligrams per day for over 6 weeks, and they didn't find any toxicity to his uptake. So it's quite a safe compound, which is not always the case for a lot of active ingredients, including from plants that we can find. So CBD is very safe compound, which is why also it's been sell a lot without so much precaution. But that's something to be aware of. I'm showing this just to show how is the potential of non-psychoactive cannabinoids for the future, because we're all talking about the CBD, but we can see also that the CBG, which is coming right now as the next non-psychotropic cannabinoid is becoming more and more popular, especially for people who deal with flower. Now there's more and more CBG strain coming in, because with the CBG only you will avoid the THC, as we saw earlier, that the CBG is a precursor of THC, so that means if you have CBG, there is really less likely that you will have any THC in your plant. So it's very interesting for the flower industry, and right now a lot of CBG flower are coming in, as well as a new formulation of CBD oil, which will include CBG in it. Of course, this is the data from pharmaceutical journal. But as you will commercialize your product, as Marie just said earlier, don't make any claim, okay? So I'm just showing this for information, but if you will commercialize other than medicine, you should not mention any of those claims. Briefly, everybody knows, so that's the 4 type of product which you can make from the CBD. You will have the ingesting product like oil, like capsules. You will have the inhalation product like e-liquid, vape product. I will not put flower because officially there's like the flower is recognized as infusion. Even so, most people will smoke it, but officially it's an infusion. The funny thing also about all this infusion story is that cannabinoids are hydrophobic. So that means they cannot dilute in water. So that means if you do a pure infusion of your flower, that means you will get nothing into your tea. So if you really want to get the cannabinoids into an infusion, you will have to add some kind of fat or a little bit of milk, for example, will do. But if you just put it in the boiled water, your flower, that will not give you any anything. Maybe the terpenes will be there, but that's the best of it. And of course, the topical, which is becoming a big market and will become huge in the coming years. So in terms of the production of CBD product from seed to sales, we have the first stage, which is production, of course, where you have different type of selected crops, different cultivar from different hemp variety. Some will use hemp variety from the European catalog. Some I use like special CBD variety, which I concentrated in CBD, because this will optimize the extraction process. So it's very interesting, but unfortunately those varieties are not allowed to be used into a European processor. The Swiss are doing a lot of extractions through their new cultivar that they are breeded for CBD especially, but those varieties should not be used other than the regulation will allow. So then after that brings to the extraction process, same story, you have different type of extraction. Some will use alcohol, butane, supercritical CO2. There is many more, and that's the second stage. Then from the extract, there will be the formulator, so the galenic formulation, which will end up into the product, so whether it's oil, capsule, cream, or e-liquid. And that brings down after to the manufacturing process, which is production, conditioning, and packaging. To go after to the legal aspect, so when you have the product ready, you need to make sure you have the due diligence done according to the legal authority, so you register the product on the market, and then you are ready to sell, whether it's online or offline. And at each stage, as you can see here, you will always have to do some quality control or documentation to make sure of the traceability for the consumer, but as well as for the authority. So one big question in our industry is the lab testing. There is many labs right now in Europe that can offer different type of testing, and there's always some issue in terms of which lab to choose, because if you will take one sample and you will send it to 10 different labs, you might end up with 10 different results, more or less close to each other, but they will never match each of them. So the way to choose your labs has to be regarding their accreditation. So they need to have like governmental accreditation, where it can be recognized after if you go to an authority and you have some issue, you can show the certificate of analysis, which can be recognized as an official one because he has all the certification required to ensure that. You need to make sure of the capacity also of the lab on which analysis they can make, whether it's cannabinoids, pesticide, heavy metal, microorganisms, and up to the terpenes, because right now the terpenes is coming up as the next active compound in the cannabis that are now really used in cosmetics, in oil, in vape. So we didn't talk too much about it. People focus on the cannabinoids, but the terpenes are very important as we are dealing with aromatherapy. So if you choose a lab that can have all these services at once, then you will also make sure for your product that you can test all the range that is necessary and to stick with only one lab rather than to show I have an analysis of heavy metal from this lab, an analysis of terpenes from this lab, an analysis from cannabis from the other lab, which become really confusing. So if you can conceptualize that, that will give you a plus in your quality assessment. And of course, you need to make sure that the lab will keep track of all your batches. So in case of a recall, you can see whether in-house, but also with your lab, what went wrong. So as we are coming into this new industry and the lack of regulation, there is not much guidelines in terms of quality control in itself. What we see today in the quality control is putting in place is more happening on the cannabinoid side of the things. But there is, as I just mentioned, all the contaminant aspect that needs to be taken care of. And so this I'm presenting, it's the American Herbal Pharmacopoeia, who in 2013 published one of the first monography on cannabis. You can see there is like a very well-known researcher, Ethan Rousseau, Mohamed El Soli, and they came up with this framework who can follow to ensure the quality and the standardization of cannabis products. So this is just an extract of that monography to show that they came up with different assessments on the this is on the microbial and fungal limit. So from this you can say, okay, if I'm in the range, I will be able to pass and make sure this is of the quality product. And if I'm above it, then my product will not be conform. I'm hoping that in the future there will be some other guidelines more strict and more clear regarding to each nation or maybe at the European level, but right now it's not that much the case in that aspect. These are the pesticide list, which is very important as well, especially when you deal with the flower itself. So not only to consume, but also when you are dealing with extract. When you are extracting, you are basically concentrating all those trichomes that I showed you earlier, and that means you will concentrate cannabinoids, the contaminants, if there is, so fungi or bacteria, and you can concentrate as well the pesticide. So that means if your biomass from start is contaminated, your extract will be even more contaminated. So it's very important to make sure of the quality of the biomass, which will ensure you the quality of your extract and the quality of your end product. The last aspect of contaminant is the heavy metals. As probably many of you knows, cannabis is a phytoremediation, so that means it will suck up all the heavy metal from the soil, and it will remain. So if you are growing in the environment which can be contaminated in the past by any heavy metals, you will find it back in your plant. And so it's very important to assess those to make sure, again, of the quality. So this is an example of a very comprehensive analysis. This is actually lab results from Bedrocan. And as you can see, there's all the aspects that should be applied in the certificate. So you have here the batch number, the product itself, which lab made the test, who is the responsible person, and in terms of the analysis, so you will have all the different aspects that will be described, and in terms of the test that will be performed, so you have here the microbiological, so in terms of the bacteria, and you can see here this is the limit, this is the method that's been used, and that's where the result come from. And here, if you see at the certificate level on the cannabinoids, they are mentioning also monograph, because the Dutch are one of the few countries that has a monography on cannabis, on which they can refer as the quality, and as a lab, you can say, okay, I'm basing my protocol, according to this monograph, and from this monograph, then these are the limits that are accepted, and so I pass the quality or not. And of course, here you will have the responsible person of the lab, which will ensure the guarantee of the analysis. In terms of testing methods, so now I'm just going back to the cannabinoids themselves, as it's the main issue, especially regarding THC, but of course, in terms of guaranteeing the level of CBD inside the plant and the finished product. There is 3 types of analysis that are mainly used. So we have the gas chromatography, so the GC, which can be coupled to a mass spectrometry or FID. And you have the HPLC. So these are the 2 common methods that will be used for looking at the cannabinoid levels. And then you have a less expensive method, which is not always mentioning, which is the thin layer chromatography. This method actually costs about from 5 to 10 euros a test, and you can get the result in half an hour with the main cannabinoid profile. So this is actually a result of the thin layer chromatography, where you see the CBD on top, THC. This is actually THCV, CBG, and CBC. And this is very interesting because that means even for people who don't have the means to send the product to a lab, they can still do some kind of small quality control prior. For example, if you are purchasing a biomass or an extract, you can already compare with what the supplier is giving you and to see if it is close to what he say or if it's not. So if it's completely off, then you can say, okay, be careful. If it's close by, you say, okay, it seems to be realistic. And then still, I will always advise when you get the product to send to your own lab to make sure it's the right concentration, and as well so you can base those results to formulate your own product. Because at the end of the day, when you will formulate it, you will send those to the same lab. So like this, you can really have a reference point. And by the way, this is a product I developed, so if you need more information, happy to give you more info about it. These are the big machines. So on the left, we can see the gas chromatography, and on the right, we can see the high pressure liquid chromatography. I'm not going to go into detail in terms of how it works, but that's for you to take as what type of machine can be used for analysis. Earlier, Marie mentioned about labeling, because after when you finish your product, you need to label it correctly. So one thing important is the information of the amount of CBD you're taking per drop or per spray or per whatever. In the US, for example, they are talking about number of CBD per pipette, even so I'm not sure that's the right way, but you need to put some kind of information on how to use it. Very important, the ingredients. And the distributor, so who will take the responsibility, which will be coupled with date of expiration and the batch number. As we're talking about quality in CBD product, that was a study back in the days in Australia in 2018, which was conducted by an association of patients, Arge-Cana. And out of 46 products tested, 21 products were into the range that they were announced, and 25 products were actually down to 30% to the amount of CBD which they actually claim. So it's almost like it's more than half of the product that they actually tested that was not compliant to what was written on the label. So that's again put the emphasis that is very important to get your lab testing on track, and also if you are purchasing it, to make sure to ask your supplier what is out there. And one other interesting fact is what I just mentioned about the CBD acids and the CBD activate, is that some of the products add the total of the CBD and CBDA as a fluctuation. So that was another study conducted in Czech Republic in 2018 as well, where they tested about 29 CBD oil on the EU market. And they found something very interesting, which we don't talk too much, is the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which are coming from the preparation when you are heating up your oil to mix it with your cannabinoid extract. Some transformation can happen, and it can generate this polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon, and which has a possible carcinogenic substance and can be harmful then for consumption. And so basically out of the 29, 21 had their level of cannabinoids according to what they claim. But if they took in account this famous PAH, only 9 actually passed the test, because all the other their PAH level were higher than the limit. So now we're going, so in terms of the regulation, I'm not going to spend too much time on it because many things have been said already. Just one thing to keep in mind is that at the moment in France, the law allows the cultivation of hemp, but only for the use of fibers and seeds. And the limit is supposed to be 0.2%, but only inside the plants. So that doesn't mean that the finished product is allowed 0.2. Actually, finished product should be 0% THC. There is a zero tolerance at the moment. Hopefully this is going to change. And also another point very interesting is that in France, technically speaking, you can only use authorized variety. And not all the catalog from the European that is available, but only the one that the French allow. Very interesting, in 2018, the WADA, which is the Federation for Doping Agents worldwide, they announced that CBD is not a doping agent, and there should be no test conducted for that. And by such, CBD can be used, and that's why also you can see nowadays a lot of people in the sport, especially combat sport, but as well fitness, even golf at the moment. Like in the US, a lot of golf players are taking CBD. They are saying they have better relaxation, they can play better. And it's very interesting because it's a major institute which recognizes that CBD is basically safe to use. So this was one of the first recommendations back in the days. Mildeca, it's a governmental institute in France, close to the Prime Minister, who made some recommendations. So it was said also earlier in terms of which variety can be used. The marketing of the hemp flowers and leaves or product obtained from this part of the plant is not authorized. So again, they emphasize the fact that you can only use the seeds and the fiber. No therapeutic claim. And of course, the THC should be 0. So again, I'm just going to go quickly. So there is like 3 types of potential registration. So this is for, sorry, it's still in French, but this was for food supplements. But anyway, it's not relevant at the moment because there is no frame for food supplements, whether in France or even in the European country. It's still a bit controversial. One thing that you can today register is e-liquid. This is falling directly under the TPD, which is the tobacco-derived product that can be registered on the European level, and from there you can do the re-notification at national level. So this will give a good frame for legal CBD product already at the moment. But still, it's not that clear on the way you should commercialize those CBD vape products. This was a directive that came up 1 month ago. And so they made a distinguish of herbal product for smoking. And there they are talking that actually the current definition of herbal product smoking does not capture certain new products entering the market, such as CBD. However, they're asking for clarification, and this is basically up to the distributor on the way he will actually market his CBD e-liquid, whether he will match entirely what's going on for tobacco product, or he will do some kind of hybridization, meaning that he will register the product where he will not follow the full compliance. Even so, some of products are trying to follow what's already out there for tobacco, whether it's for flower or for vape. As you can see, you have this little warning sign that keep the consumer aware of the potential danger and which fit exactly with what's going on already for tobacco product. And these are the compliance that you need to follow for your registration in terms of packaging, but also in terms of testing and control. Cosmetic, we already just talked about it before. Marie gave a great explanation about it, so I will not go back to it. This is just to show that CBD is officially recognized as a compound to be introduced into cosmetic. These are the claims that can be done according to it. Actually, the professor we had at the beginning of the panel made a very clear explanation about that. Novel food. So novel food, it's a bit controversy at the moment because even so that's the official stand for the future of CBD product for edibles or for oil or food supplements. As more as we go into the regulation of CBD, the less that seems to go and be enforced. Because it's very complex dossier to put in place, and basically this is a recommendation on the European level, but that means that if tomorrow a country like France or Italy or whichever country decide that this is a food supplement, they will have the right to do so, and that means novel food will be meaningless. At the moment we have the UK that try to apply this, which is quite very paradoxal as they are out of the EU, but they are following a EU regulation. So that's still something nobody really knows what is going to be. And as you can see here, it's a very complex process to file novel food product. And as such, there has been a consortium putting together to cover all the costs for it. It's still in the process. At the moment, there has been only one company to be approved for novel food, and it was CBD synthetic. So this is this process going on, but we don't know really where it's going to end up. This is CannaVape. As you already heard a lot about it. So CannaVape was the product I created in 2014. And I was a little bit young, so I thought, super, we have a great product. CBD is non-psychotropic, it's not regulated. At the time, electronic cigarette was the same story, so I decided to put it all together and say, okay, here's the product. It's not illegal, it's not legal, but it's there. Unfortunately, at that time, it was taken by the French Minister of Health as provocation to the use of cannabis. And because they didn't understand nothing about this product, they decided to basically go after me and my company, which brought me back to Czech Republic to continue my journey. But very interestingly for all of us is that through my trials, I made first court case was terrible. I was accused with 18 months of sentences of jail, suspended with 10,000 euros of fees. I mean, terrible. So we make appeal, of course, and in the appeal, we ask the judge what's the statute for CBD, and we would like to ask the European Court of Justice, and the judge was brave enough to say yes, we don't know what's the current statute of the law, so let's ask the European Court of Justice, which ended up in 2019, and November 2020 we had the result, which say by the Advocate General that conclude that by the EU law, prohibit a member state from prohibiting the import of cannabidiol oil from another member state where this oil is extracted from the whole plant and not just its fiber and seed, because in the current state of scientific knowledge, there has not been established that cannabidiol has a psychotropic effect. And this is really important because we are not even talking about flower or even vape, we are talking about cannabidiol oil. And here, very important is that it's not just hemp and the seeds and the fiber, it's the whole plant. So this actually, after that, was a big boom in France and in the whole Europe. Things kind of changed in a way. And that's why, again, novel food, I don't know if where it's going to be, but with that, things have been changed. So that means today you can actually export if you are out of France, or import if you are in France, CBD products which are legal in their country of origin. So at the moment, 90% of the products that you find on the market are coming from other European members. One thing is, if you intend to export CBD product to France, you need to make sure you have your French label, you have a good lawyer advice, and that you also have all your documentation. So material safety data sheet, certificate of analysis, that the product is registered in the origin of where the product is being produced. And from there, you can claim the free circulation of goods. So the consequence from the cannabis case is this. That means a few months ago, you see 25 May, so it's very recent, France announced that they will allow CBD products, but they will forbidden the use of the flower, which is not ideal, but it's a great move forward, as until now we didn't know where to stand in terms of CBD product in France. And not just in France, it had also an impact in Slovakia. Slovakia, until recently, so until May the 1st, CBD was illegal. So it was like considered as THC, as any other cannabis product. And so they ruled that CBD now can be legally sold in the shops, not just in pharmacy, but everywhere in Slovakia. And as well, Czech Republic, which is the neighboring country of Slovakia, they actually step even forward by putting into a proposal of a law which will allow a 1% THC limit in the flower, and eventually maybe in the CBD product. This is going to be passed by in September. They are the final round, and so as you can see, since the announcement of the European Court of Justice, has been a lot of advance in France, Slovakia, Czech Republic, but we can expect also some other move by other European countries. And hopefully, very soon we will have a legal market where we can actually start to grow and expand to where we need to go. Well, thank you very much.